Michael Corley with the Corley Company and also founder of GenXLeaders. Please give Michael Corley a great big round of applause.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. I'm all mic'd up. Well, good afternoon, I guess it is, everybody. I appreciate everybody coming out, and that was fantastic listening to you all go around. And one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you all noticed it as well, but when you were talking about your trophies and then your ad hoc comments, it was all about making a difference in somebody else's lives. And if you do that, then the economic, the economic reality will happen. But I was fascinated by listening to your stories, and very, very special. And that's a good gut check for me as well. Like Dave said, I am the founder of the Corley Company. Not too original of a name. My last name is Corley. Keep things very simple. This topic is on simplicity, and I started with the name of the company. And I also do blog under GenXLeaders.com. And you all will appreciate this. So I'm on the treadmill one day, and I'm listening to a podcast, and they're talking about those doggone millennials again, right? Those doggone millennials. I'll leave it at that. And I thought, okay, what about us? There are 15 years of us as Gen Xers, and you boomers as well. Heard about you all those years. And thought, my gosh, who's going to stand up for the rights of Gen Xers? And so I hopped off the treadmill and go to GoDaddy.com and started Googling names and found GenXLeaders. I took it and said, oh, now what do I do with it? And so I've started with a blog, and it's kind of it's an anti-movement to say, okay, the GenXLeaders will rise again, type of thing. we hope. There aren't enough of us to get the attention. So we're emerging from the holidays, and I assume, like me, your holidays looked like this, right? You had, everybody was happy, everybody was getting along, so happy to see each other, the kids with the gifts, maybe not wearing those coats down here, right? But just couldn't wait to see each other gathering around the dinner table, not unlike the Waltons getting together, right? And just peaceful and enjoyable and just simple, right? Anybody have that?
Yep.
No. No, did you really? No, holidays, life is just not that simple anymore. Those days that the marketers, they have us thinking that you can live this life of, oh, everybody's happy and gets along and it's simple and you slow down and you take your time, and it's just not reality. In fact, life is pretty doggone complex, right? So what I'm talking about today is a little bit, how do you simplify your lives in 2016 so that you all can do those things that you just talked about and do more of them. And so to begin the conversation, and let me take a step back. This is going to be an interactive discussion. I saw how everybody participated, so view me more of a facilitator, right, than an actual lecturer. So let me ask you, what are some causes of complexity in your lives? Yes?
So much to do, so little time.
So much to do, so little time. Excellent. Yes, sir?
Balancing family and work.
Yeah.
Education and improving yourself, all the things you have to do.
Balancing the demands on your time. You're absolutely right.
Too many usernames and passwords.
Too many usernames and passwords. There are solutions to that. There are apps for that. But yes, that's a pain. You're absolutely right. What else? What else? I'll give you a hint. We talked a little bit of making decisions, right? And that relates to the number of choices that we have. Lack of understanding of things. Things are getting more complex. Lack of clarity and expectations. This is not only in your personal life, but even at work and employees. If you're not clear on what your expectations are as the entrepreneurial leader, it creates complexity. Change certainly gets things complex. Fear, right? And what about more us individually? The need for perfection. Any entrepreneur, any of you all in this room, probably if you're not now or at some point, it's all about perfection and getting it done right, and nobody else could do it as well as you, so you went out and started a business in order to do it right. Particularly if you're an engineer in the room, I bet. Information overload, too many tools. Scope creep, every project, scope creep when you embark on something. People, very complex. You know, have you ever joked about how great business would be without employees and customers?
Right.
Wow, you could really get something done then. Unfortunately, that's not reality. Overcommitting because of the balance in our lives. We all overcommit. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And you know what? A desire to be busy. When's the last time when anybody asked you how you were, you said, I'm not busy? We never say that, right? People always say, how are you? I'm busy. I'm busy. And we wear that as a badge of honor. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. And let's don't forget, right, everything's about the tyranny of more, right? We want more projects, more meetings, more revenue, more employees, more board memberships. Everything is about more, right? But little secret, more is not better. In fact, go ahead and stop. You have my permission to stop doing more on a daily basis. Because one of the things we want to do is to simplify our lives, because if we do less, it'll be more simplified, and I will assure you, you will be able to do more if you do less. That's kind of an oxymoron. Everything I'm going to talk about going forward, I have experienced over the past number of years. I'm not good at everything, and so we're gonna share some ideas. But the fact is I've tried these, I've researched these, and this has become somewhat of a passion of mine of simplifying your life. Because it started with me, I was more interested in simplifying my life and thought, well, gosh, you know, it doesn't have to be that hard. So I took a vow, and everybody raised their right hand. I vow that 2016 will be a year of simplicity. Yeah, whatever, right? That's right. Hear ye, whatever the case may be, right? And so we need to focus on that. Now, you know, what's interesting is I was researching, looking at, preparing for this presentation and talking about it. The pursuit of simplicity isn't anything new, and we just can't seem to get it right. Going back to Confucius said, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. And we do. We insist on making it complicated. It's human nature, so it's a challenge we're going to be fighting really forever. Plato says beauty of style and harmony and grace and good rhythm depend on simplicity. And then Socrates, beware of the barrenness of a busy life. That's pretty profound, the barrenness of a busy life. And yet we all strive to be busier because it's, like I said, that badge of honor that we wear. And I assume one of their tombstones look like this. You know, in every presentation you're supposed to have some comedic relief. And so I thought I would put one of the comics up here. I don't know if everybody can read that, but it says he was a simple man on his epitaph, right? A stick figure. So we're going to try to be the simple man and women. But before we jump further in, why would we want simplicity? Why do you think we'd want simplicity in our lives? Less stress? Absolutely. Did I hear? What else?
More free time for yourself.
Yeah, more free time for yourself. Absolutely. Right? Yes, sir.
More joy.
More joy. Stress, joy, free time for yourself. Yeah.
Easy like the other understand.
Easy what?
Easy understand.
Easy to understand.
Right.
Yeah. Because when you have complexity, things are less easy to understand.
More control of your life.
Who said that? Excellent. More control in your life. There's something, and this is I'm gonna deviate because that's an excellent statement. Boy, there's nothing like having control in your life to give you a sense of satisfaction and a sense of, that's what we all want. Stress starts to happen when people are controlling our lives, and we don't have that control. More wisdom. Wisdom. Yeah. Yeah. Wisdom, and it seems as we get older, we get a little bit more wise, don't we? Maybe because we learn to control things a little bit more. I don't know. Yes, sir.
I believe that in simplicity is where your creativity grows.
Beautiful. And we're going to talk, I loved what you just said about outsourcing everything. We're going to talk a little bit about that because then you can focus on your, that's where the creative is, when things are simple. When you're running from meeting to meeting, you're not being very creative, right?
You're not being very efficient.
Or efficient. And there's I heard this term probably about 5 years ago. There's a lot of head trash in this world, where there's stuff just gets in your head, and you're battling this head trash. And when you're battling the head trash, you're not focusing on what's important, and you're not being creative because you're dealing with all those thoughts and issues that really are non-productive and will not help you do anything. But that's what life is. So let's talk about a few of the ways. And again, these are Michael Corley's ways of simplifying his life, and hopefully some of these you all will be able to benefit from. And of course, the first one is what? Prioritize and focus. And we're at the start of a new year. Who has New Year's resolutions? Okay, a few people. Who just decided not to do it this year because it's a wait? Yeah. And who thought they had one and have already quit? Right, we're on the 12th, January 12th. Yeah, and so why do people have resolutions? Yes. Yeah.
So why not?
And so we set goals to give us focus and priority. Inherent in setting a goal is you've now prioritized something. And in your case, rock climbing. So it becomes something I am going to work on today so that when the time comes where you have two choices, you will pick that which is a priority for you. So I encourage everybody, have 3 to 5 priorities. You'll hear people say have 7, have 10. And I don't know what the right number is. The right number is whatever's the right number for you, right? So how many you can manage. But remember, with every priority, is you're going to have subtasks and things along those lines. So I just say, keep it simple, right? We're talking about keeping it simple. 3 to 5. What are the priorities in your life? And it can be start very high. Is it God, family, work, family, God, whatever the case may be. So that helps to start. You start broad and start narrowing down from there. Important to understand, do your goals align with your roles, or your roles align with your goals in life? And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to, it was my friends that were younger and now the younger generation. I want to be president of the company. Great. So what are you doing to be president of the company? Well, I don't want to miss happy hour, and I want to hang with my friends on the weekend, and I want to go travel. And I said, "What? You just said you wanted to be president of the company. What are you doing to be president of the company?" The person's roles and goals are misaligned. And oftentimes when we set our priorities, we don't take a step back and go, is that priority, are those tasks related to the priority going to help me achieve my goal? So very important. When somebody shared this with me a number of years ago, it was like a bam, you're right. I can't do both. And my goals and roles need to be in line in order to be effective and to set the priorities that I need to set. And then, of course, now let's drill down to on a daily basis tasks and task lists. I was not a believer in writing down tasks for the longest time. And I was always able to just keep them in my head. And what I noticed over the last couple of years, and I went out kicking and screaming, that I started forgetting things, and I'd wake up in the middle, and not even forgetting, I'm waking up in the middle of the night thinking about those things that I had not remembered, or that, I'm going to have to remember to do that. Is that crazy or what? And so I was spending more mental bandwidth on doing something that was unnecessary to do. It was taking my focus, my time, and attention. And so now I've got a task list, and I use Wunderlist. It's an online service that goes, so I can carry it on my phone, my iPad, and things like that. I put everything down in it. And so at first I started doing this elaborate A, B, C, the whole Franklin Covey methodology. I'm like, oh gosh, that's too complex. I don't need that. I need simple, simple, simple. List everything down, beginning of every day. I go look at that list, I go, 3 to 5, whatever it is for that day, and then I go put them on my calendar. And then I just use my list for as things come up throughout the day. So just simple. I got friends that still use the old handwritten list, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's whatever works for you. When you're looking at all those things on your priority list, remember the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? Who knows what the 80-20 rule is? Yes. 20% of your volunteers, members do 80% of the work. Yes, sir.
20% of the customers require 80% of the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes. Bob.
A lot of times my students feel that 80% of the work gets in their groups. 80% of the work gets done by about 20% of the people.
Yeah. And don't we see that in our companies? And I can assure you that's true. Yes, sir.
20% of what I do is effective, 80% is keeping busy.
Yeah. And so when we think about that, so Vilfredo Pareto goes back to 20% of the people owned about 80% of the land. That's where it derived from. And then throughout the studies over the years, we recognize, and if you think about it, in businesses you've worked in, or in your current business, if you have employees, probably 20 to 30% do 80% of the work, bar none. It's you take a step back and you look at it, and it's true. Look at your tasks that way. Do 20 to 30% of your tasks, because you're going to have, let's say, 10 tasks. 2 to 3 to 4 a day are going to be the ones that are going to be the 80% most important. So prioritize your tasks using the 80-20 rule. Yes, sir?
I've noted before.
Sure, because why do you do that? Because if you want something done, you give it to a busy person, right? And those that are the overachievers. Yeah, your top 20%, sure. And complete your priorities each day. If you only got 3 to 5, you should be able to complete those and stick to those throughout the day. That's a sense of accomplishment. You can look back in the day and go, wow, I got something done. And think about it. If you do 3 to 5, complete 3 to 5 priorities a day, how many is that a week? 21 to 35? How many is that a month? How many is that a year? So just by biting off a little bit every day, you're accomplishing quite a bit throughout the year. So I talked a little bit about the list and keeping a list and to prioritize. And as you're running through that list, you reprioritize every day. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but use that list to do your brain dump so you're not wasting your time and energy worrying about what you have to do that day. I can attest from experience that's what happens.
That's true.
Yeah, he said you got to get in the habit of checking into your list, and you're absolutely right. I'm glad I'm not the only person that had that challenge. So I've had lists over the years, and I end up quitting it because it's great. I go do it, or even on Wunderlist. So I had it on my phone. Well, I forget to check it, or I just never got in the habit of checking it.
The more you check, the more you get done. The more
That's-
you check in, the more.
Yeah. So it becomes part of your process throughout the day.
And the third thing is taking action.
And then take action. Absolutely right, yeah. Yes, don't change it. If that's simple, tools are sexy. People, Wunderlist, ooh, and I went through 3 of them before I found Wunderlist, because every podcast I listened to, somebody did something different, and so I spent more doggone time trying to learn a task program and thinking, man, how much time did I just waste because I was chasing, the next best thing. And so, if that works for you, I would just pick something that works for you, even if it's, writing up on your mirror. Yes, sir. And one of the best pieces of advice I heard not too terribly long ago, within the last couple of years, is to create a not to-do list. Things you should not do or you should stop doing. Because we all do those things that keep us busy, so we feel pretty good. Mine, love to read the Wall Street Journal. You know what? That hadn't made me 1 cent in my entire life. In fact, I've probably lost money based on the investing. But for years, I had to read that because it kept me busy, it made me feel good. So on my to-do list now, I'll squeeze it in now, but I'm not going to read just because it feels good. Yeah, you read, you get the point. And so think of things, what should be on your not to-do list?
I find it, listening to the radio, these talk shows, all this information about things that I can't control in my life, and yet I'm being subjected to all of it. It's frustrating.
The negativity.
All the negativity of it, and it just that would be on my not to-do list.
Yeah, indeed, turn it off. That's right.
Turn off the knob, right?
Yeah.
All of them except my show.
Yeah, that's right. Not Dave's show. That's right. I thought somebody else had a hand, but
And I forgot about the mic. I was so enthralled with what the subject was, I forgot to pass the mic.
We'll let you get away with it this time. For over 25 years, I've followed the teachings of Tony Robbins.
oh yeah.
And one of the things that's stuck in my brain, among a million others, is every move you make and everything you put on your to-do list, ask yourself the same question over and over and over again. Is this getting me closer to my goal or further away? And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
It's got to tie in. That's why you need those goals and priorities,
Right. We don't want to write down or act on the things that are going to bring us, that are wasting our time and not getting us closer
Sure.
to our goal.
That's right. Right there, Dave.
I don't know if anybody knows the author Larry Winget, but he was interviewed on the 17 top things to stop doing this year.
Oh.
And his reason that he said you have to stop doing, everybody starts with the New Year's resolutions about what they're going to do. He says you cannot do something new unless you stop doing something else because you don't have any time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. So think about those things to put on your not to-do list. It'll be transformative, and you'll have to hold yourself accountable for it and be disciplined for it. All right. Everybody in this room is an entrepreneur, and controlling your calendar is probably one of the biggest challenges you'll ever have. And so first and foremost, you really need to commit to controlling your calendar. And only you can control it. Even if you have an assistant, whatever, only you can control your calendar. And so you schedule those priorities, which we talked about, right? Makes sense. And what I found is if I schedule 1 to 2 weeks at a time, typically 2 weeks at a time, I'm a little bit more at ease and comfortable because your to-do list is here, and your propensity is you're going to want to put everything into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? You probably look on a Sunday night or a Monday morning, and so you go, oh, I got to jam everything into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so I'll look at my calendar and go, well, gosh, I got nothing on Thursday, Friday. But the challenge there is, come Monday, you haven't gotten most of those done. If you look at a broader period of time, then you can start scheduling a little bit more with a better rhythm, and you can get more of it accomplished, and you can always roll things over, right? Make sure you budget adequate time to get whatever done, whatever task is, whatever meeting you're attending. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people, and I'm as guilty as anybody, you schedule a meeting for 30 minutes and you know doggone well it's going to go 45 or an hour. Right. Or an hour and you know it's going to go 115. But you do it because that's what Outlook says we have to do. Or Gmail. Gmail now. It says all meetings are an hour, come hell or high water. Right? So you've got to, don't get in the position where you're backed up at the beginning of the day. And one of the ways you do this, and I heard Michael Hyatt talk about this, and I really enjoy listening to Michael Hyatt's podcast, is to build margin into your schedule. So any business leader, your calendar probably, especially on Mondays, right? Get in the office at 8, 8 to 9 meeting, 9 to 10 staff meeting, 10 to 11 begins your one-on-ones. Yes, sir.
I think what you're saying is excellent as it relates to administrative, I'm sorry. What you're saying is excellent, I think, as it relates to administrative work about scheduling time. Creativity does not answer to a clock.
Good.
It may take hours of brainstorming around a table to come up with solutions to problems. You cannot contain creativity within a schedule.
Yes, sir. And can I touch on that in 1 second? I'm going to finish the margin. That is a great point. So build margin into your schedule. If you got somebody at work they're always 15 minutes late because they were at a previous meeting, build a half an hour in between their schedules. For you, just to collect your thoughts after a meeting, write your notes down. Because how many times do you go through the whole day and you're like, it's 5 o'clock, good Lord, I had 7 meetings today, I haven't consolidated my thoughts, my notes, and now you have to remember what happened in the first meeting to follow up emails or whatever the case may be. Too stressful. Life doesn't need to be that complicated. Build margin in between your meetings. Build enough time to go to your kids' sporting events after work. Build enough time to get into the office in the morning, which this time of year is about 15 to 20 minutes more than it was just 2 months ago. Something I've started doing to touch on what you just talked about, and again, I stole this from Michael Hyatt, is I've created out the ideal week for me. And what do I mean by that? So I map out, I've got my perfect calendar. 5 to 6 is scripture and quiet time and reading. 6 to 8 is workout. Workout, eat, shower, get ready. 8 to, depending on the day, it could be 8 to 4 is work. Now, some days are consulting work, some days are creating content work. 5 to 6 family time, I may be off an hour here, 6 to 7 dinner, whatever the case may be. So by looking at that, I sit down on Sunday and I try to accommodate that schedule throughout the week. Now, I can't always do that, and that's okay, but I'm in control of my schedule, so no, I feel comfortable doing that. And I do blocks of time. So where I need to be creative, I got blocks of time, 2 hours of time. So I've scheduled that. Now, if I wake up and I'm feeling very creative, I'm in a position where I can adjust my schedule. And so I'm in control. Now, if I have meetings, obviously, with people, it's not as simple. But I agree with you. Creativity, you don't know when it's going to strike. But you do know when you function best. Are you a morning person, afternoon person, or a night person? Right? And most people are more creative in the morning, but not always the case. So schedule your thinking time where you find that you're function the best. I just happen to be in the morning. So that's an excellent point. This just drives me nuts. So if you got a standing meeting every week or every month, put it on your calendar. Yeah. Have your people put it on the calendar so you're not running around going, hey, we're going to meet again next month. Well, of course we are. We meet every month. What's your schedule look like? Just put it on the calendar. It'll become a lot less stressful if it's already on your calendar throughout the year. Always easier to take things off your calendar than it is to put on your calendar. And for kicks, track your schedule for 2 weeks. Down to 15-minute increments. Don't go crazy. Remember, we're talking about simplicity. And then after 2 weeks, go back and look and see where you spent your time. You'll be probably very, very interested to see where you did, in fact, spend your time if you've never done this exercise before. Okay. This talks a little bit about what we were talking about. Batch your work and limit interruptions. So we get a lot of interruptions every day, right? And so there are times where what I found is if you batch your work, your emails, right? Do it at scheduled times throughout the day that you put on your calendar. Now, if you work in an office environment, it's an email-heavy environment, well, then obviously you got to keep it on. But your personal emails, if you batch those, you'll be able to do them much more efficiently and they won't become distractions for you. Phone calls with clients, if you can, batch them, because you just get in the mode, you get in a rhythm, as opposed to going to a meeting, then a phone call, then checking emails. Every distraction causes you precious time, precious productivity, and what I found most importantly is bandwidth, thinking bandwidth, because you're distracted. Yes, sir.
Sometimes I feel that when you have some time afterward, keeping those meetings and things like that, is that you take some time to be quiet afterward.
Yeah.
And because the fact is that those unscheduled quiet times sometimes is when you start getting an idea and have to develop it. Walking the dog is a lot of times when I get an idea or things like that.
Yeah.
Doing exercise. So keep a pad near you. And
That's
sometimes
right.
you can jot down just enough to remember when you get back to working also.
When the muse strikes. Yes.
I agree with the batching some of these. I have a real tough time with the phone calls, and I can think about some people that I've done business with when I was in the appraisal business for many years, and some of the originators would return calls from 1 to 3 or from 10 to 11. Well, those calls didn't fit my time schedule.
Yeah.
I'm in the catering business. If someone calls me about a wedding, if I don't get back to them right away, they've moved
Indeed.
on. And while I'd like to say we're the greatest thing in the catering business, people are ready to make a call. They want to confirm something right away. They want to get something going. So
Indeed.
I think time is the essence. I'd be very careful with batching your phone calls.
Yep. As business needs dictate, absolutely. Hot button meetings, this just drives me nuts. So I figured I had an audience, I would talk a little bit about it. Every meeting, have a defined purpose for the meeting or don't have the meeting. Have an agenda or don't have the meeting. Have a purpose. Get the information to everybody beforehand. Start on time, end on time. And if it becomes a problem, set up an agenda template. Even if you use the same agenda every time, you're showing people that this is serious and we're going to spend time doing it. And schedule 45-minute meetings instead of an hour meetings. You'll be amazed at how the meetings only need to be 45 minutes or even less. Yeah. How focused they'll become.
share something?
Yes.
If you're having a meeting and several different people, if you're having a meeting and there are several people involved with your company, one of the things that we used to do was, you know how you're talking with this idea and the positive, and then somebody says, no, that will not work. Oh, yeah, try this, try that, and this and that. Going back and forth, we found that it took a lot of time to get the meeting done when you have a discussion where not everyone was going in the same path.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, if you're going to talk about the idea and have everyone put the hat of creative when we're talking about creative, the idea, or the negative, have everybody put the negative. Okay, what do you see? What do you see in this part of this section? The negative points of this equation, yeah. And believe me, it makes the meeting, that section, much more efficient as to when you're having multiple going back and forth discussions, because everybody's thinking, okay, we're going to create this thing. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think the negatives are? What do you think the competition is going to do? Well, I think our competition is going to do this, 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 this. And keep it organized.
Indeed.
You'll kick butt.
I guess best point, depending on the meeting, is keep it organized, keep it structured, and keep it flowing. Otherwise, it becomes a big waste of time. Recognize trade-offs. This goes back into your roles and goals. Every decision you make is a decision you didn't make. All right, every decision you make is a decision you didn't make. Make sure it ties back into your priorities. Systematize the routine. Systematize what you can. And I learned this a number of years ago when I began training for a triathlon, and I didn't even own a bike. And it took me, when I first started, about 20 minutes to get outside of the house to get actually on the bike, between getting shoes on, clothes, everything, not knowing. After a few weeks, I was down to 5 minutes. And so it dawned on me, if I can systematize every function, every process at work, I can save significant amount of time. So it's all the routine stuff you can do.
Right.
Email communication, probably one of the biggest time sucks ever. Write your emails. Obviously, you want to, the phone's face-to-face and then the phone, but email. Make the subject line very pertinent. If action is necessary from one of your employees, say action needed. 3 to 4 sentences, tops. Nobody reads a second paragraph on emails anymore. Unless you instruct them, please read this entire email, they're still probably going to put it away. Keep it very simple. If you have a stated action, write the email such that the action can be taken very easily with just a reply. And don't reply all. Add your rules in your organization to help facilitate emails. But this is probably one of the biggest time sucks ever. All right, email community. I love this cartoon. Start and the finish line. Run for people with short attention spans. It's about maybe 50 yards. And let me end on this, because I know we're getting short on time. And this is probably the biggest challenge that all of us are going to face, but it's the wisest words ever given to me. Learn to say no. Learn to say no to people who want your time. If you got employees, they want your time. And yes, there is a balance. But I can assure you, you could probably walk out of here and have a meeting scheduled for every breakfast, every lunch, every dinner, especially in this town, for the next 6-7 months if you wanted to. That is not going to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. The art of saying no, and there are a number of books written on this, will help alleviate and simplify your life unbelievably. Some of the challenges you'll have is events. In this town, my gosh, you go to an event every night. Board of directors, a lot of nonprofits will ask you to be on a board of directors. Limit your participation on board of directors. Reading, no magazine subscriptions. So learn to say no. Like this dog, these 2 dogs are talking and say, I know more commands than I respond to, right? He says no to his owner. So if you've learned nothing today, and we'll open up for questions, the art of saying no to people, and there are nice ways to say no, but who are those people, what are those events, what are those situations that can help you accomplish your goals, and say no to those that don't.
I think the most important one is the last one you mentioned, know to relationships with people to bring you down.
Yeah.
Yes.
John.
You can say, yes, I will not do that.
That's great. That's good. Yeah.
I had a person for years, couple of years in my life, who was just a friend and had retired, had a lot of time. I had to block. I had to put her on block. I mean, I was getting 10 emails and phone calls and texts. I had to block her. I didn't want to, but.
No, you don't want to, and it's hard because we're all human beings and we got feelings and emotions, but the fact is they're sucking your time, your success, your optimism. That's just wrong. Life's too short.
The simplest book out there on how to say no and exercises that will help you learn to do it faster in ways that don't create arguments. The title says it all. When I say no, I feel guilty.
Oh.
It's a book on assertiveness training. It's excellent. It's been around over 50 years.
How about that?
I have a lot of guilt with this person.
Yeah.
Tremendous. But
It's
First of all, Michael, I want to say you did a great job today. I really enjoyed what you had to say. Been in business and manufacturing for 41 years, which is kind of like, that's why I can hardly stand up anymore. The couple things that you mentioned I wanted to maybe share with you. First of all, something Clayton said about trying to always have an agenda for the day. I have my whole life. But if you're involved with a lot of employees or other things that are very important like that, like people, and I had as many as 100 people working for me at any time, HR is very demanding, human resource. How many of you folks have people working for you at some time or other? If you don't now and you do some time, you have to get to read people and know that you're going to have to interrupt your schedule. Because sometimes when they need to talk to you, you've got to do it then. Sending them away and saying, I'll do it later, ain't going to work. It's going to cause more of a problem. The other thing I wanted to know, I'll tell you one thing I did, so I still have some mind left, is in my schedule, I always scheduled each day some attitude readjustment time. Always.
Oh,
my partners used to kid the hell out of me. They say, where the hell did you go for the last 20 minutes? I'd go away every day somewhere for a while. And I'd for coffee, for a little walk, or something, so I could come back and not kill the next person that walked in to see me. Okay. Thank you. And the meetings. Last thing I want to say is, I probably have chaired or facilitated 10,000 meetings in the last 41 years. Agenda always. Start it, stop it, make people focused, get it done. Otherwise, you'll kill time.
Yep, very good.
That's good.
One more question or comment.
All right. Well, my first comment is Bob last year was talking about how well they take care of their employees and how much they care about their employees, and that is one thing that I leave from Yes and having these conversations that I want on my tombstone at some point in time. Now, as far as listening to negative radio and whatnot, I don't think we can bury our head in the sands, because some of these people that are representatives out there, you got to know what they're up to. You got to know how it is going to impact your business. I mean, I'm concerned about the national debt in a very big way. I find it to be greater than other causes of concern. If you get to a certain level, we should pay attention to that. Negative or not, I think everybody in this room is smart enough to be able to differentiate what's acceptable that you're hearing and what isn't acceptable.
Good point.
All right. Sure, just really quick.
Here we go. It's a matter of amount. It's really not about burying your head in the sand, Clayton. It's simply about, like sugar, limiting how much you allow in your body any one day. So that's, I think, what the point was about the negative stuff.
Very good. Have you guys enjoyed Michael Corley?
Oh, thank you.
Give him a big hand clap.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Well, let me give a hand to everybody. I've enjoyed you all.
Awesome.
Appreciate the feedback, and the input. That's helpful.
It's very good. Are you going to be hanging around for a little bit?
I am.
Come on up, get his business card. He's a great consultant, great speaker. He's been on my radio show. I'm going to be putting him on stage here at some point in 2016. Woo-hoo. Look forward to that. Okay. John, go ahead.
One thing we didn't cover in this excellent talk was what I learned in kindergarten, that I never met a nap I didn't like. Take your naps. Refresh yourself. Recharge. Right. And give me a good one, okay? Yes, the answer is always yes! Thank you.